its first goal was to look at, could this technology be used to solve some of the issues that the university was having, bottlenecks in terms of training. If you've got a group of students having to talk to a patient, you either had to get in a medical actor, or they would talk to a mannequin with their lecturer hid behind a screen and voicing the mannequin. And
really, is that what they did?
Absolutely. Honestly, the first time I saw that was eye-opening for me, and I saw that actually taking place within a simulated kind of hospital environment, but that's what was happening. There was a mannequin laid out, a group of 5 students around the mannequin, someone behind a screen answering questions on behalf of the mannequin, and the students immediately forgot basics like introducing themselves and asking for consent.
There's a conversation with Jeremy there. So we're talking about this week about VR meets AI, revolutionizing medical assessment. I hope you're all safe and well. My name's Tim Burnett. This is the Test Community Network weekly update. As ever, anything that you see and like on here, then go to testcommunity.network. You will find it there. You can also subscribe for free, where you receive an awesome email that comes through on a weekly basis, jam-packed full of resources that you may have missed from your feeds on social media, etc. So it helps you keep up to date with what's going on. Just a reminder, we've got 2 webinars coming up. So we've got February the 27th, so this is next week. We've got a webinar. We're talking about AI superpowers for research, a big area recently, because every single LLM provider has been bringing out some kind of research style tool. So it's worth checking out to see what they do, how it works, and what benefits it could bring to you as an organization. We also have the week after that, riding the AI wave. So I've got 3 amazing psychometricians in to discuss just how to stay grounded, really, as we kind of explore and navigate this wonderful world of AI that we're exploring. And if you're going to any of the conferences, how not to get swept away, but to keep grounded and focused on some of the core principles that of assessment that are very important. As ever, some updates for you. So Cambridge Assessment Network, they've got a psychometrics and educational assessment course starting on the 24th. Some excellent work that's coming out of those guys. The European Digital Education Hub, they've got a webinar shaping AI for public good in education. It's worth checking that out. The Australian Evaluation Society have got some workshops navigating AI evaluation. So if you're interested in that, that goes through from the 25th to the 4th of March. We've got the Rogo webinar, Accountants, Time to Power Up Employmentability Skills. So check the Rogo guys out. It's worth doing. Ben and the team there. ATP Global Coffee Chat with yours truly and Andrew with Nina as the kind of host. We're going to be talking about marketing options in this kind of AI space. And again, really a little bit of kind of staying grounded, but also looking at the options that are available to you. We've got some of the free apps that are coming out as well. So Nathan Thomas from Assessment System posted this on LinkedIn yesterday. I thought I'd share it. There's a suite of psychometric apps that are available for you to use and enjoy. Nathan actually has some on his website as well that's worth checking out as well. So have a look at the Assessment System website there. British Council announced a headline sponsor for the e-assessment award, which is awesome. So we've got that. I'm going to be a judge on that as well. We've got some judge training going on today. But I think you've still got time. If you want to submit your amazing project for an e-assessment association award, then please do get that in quickly. Got another Rethinking Post-18 Education with FE News. It's worth having a look at that. There's a job available, Alpine Testing. There's 2 actually, but they're looking for a psychometrician. So if you're a psychometrician out there that's looking for a new job and a new role. Now, this is an interesting one. So the Cambridge Handbook on Law, Ethics and Policy of Artificial Intelligence. So this is a book. It's a PDF that's available to download. So it's the full book in a PDF. And of course, if you're using Notebook LM, you could download it and add it in there and use and chat against that document as well. So it's worth having a look at that. And then we've also got just a final one from the marketplace. We've got the Generative AI Product Safety Expectations. So it's from the British government. So if you are a developer that's creating educational AI-based solutions for the UK market, then this guide is worth having a look at. It's a guide. I don't think it's regulation, but it's worth following. It's only going to go in one direction, isn't it? And then podcast, we've got the OECD podcast. Can you handle the truth? That's kind of few good men kind of feeling on that one there. Putting misinformation to the test with OECD Truth Test Quest survey. So after a few beers. The Cult Pedagogy podcast, 3 ways you may be able to maybe cognitively overloading your students. I'm feeling like that a little bit today. And then Beyond the Technology, I think this is the GIST podcast, Education 4.0 podcast, 60 further education skills, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So if you're in further education, then it's worth giving that a listen. So on to my conversation now with Jeremy. Jeremy used to be my boss when I was working at Surpass many years ago. So it was great to catch up with my old colleague and listen to the amazing work that he's doing with AI and VR. So here's me in conversation with Jeremy. Welcome. Good to see you. Are you well?
I am very well, Tim. Nice to see you as well.
Excellent. So do you want to tell, for anyone who doesn't know anything about you and your business, do you want to give us a bit of an introduction? I know you very well because we've worked together in the past, but other people out there might not know you. So do you want to say hello?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name's Jeremy Carter. I'm the CEO of Sentira XR. We're a virtual reality and artificial intelligence company. My background is I've worked in assessment technology for 25 plus years. I say 25 plus now because I can't keep adding a year to it. So yeah, I'm very familiar with assessment technology and certification programs, and taking that knowledge and experience into virtual reality now.
Excellent. Yeah, no, our kind of time together goes way back to Surpass days, wasn't it, when we were working?
It
together?
was, yes. Yeah. So back in the mists of time, almost to 2008 to 2014, I was with Surpass. Yeah.
Yeah. And you're now in the kind of virtual reality space. I suppose you want to tell us a bit more about the product, what it does, how it works, give us a bit of an explanation.
Sure. So we build virtual experiences or virtual reality and immersive experience, predominantly at the moment in healthcare, that enable students, users, learners or candidates to go into an interactive, immersive environment, communicate directly with artificial intelligence driven patients, perform tasks, and get assessed and receive feedback on their performance, both in terms of how they actually perform the task, but also in terms of how they handled conversations with patients. So that ranges from either just a patient consultation to actually dealing with emergency situations and how they handle that under pressure.
And this is headset based, is it? With kind of controllers and things? Yeah. We
can deliver across multiple modes. So we can also deliver experiences that are kind of directly onto a laptop. So you don't necessarily need to be in a headset. We're also working on that being able to be delivered on mobile devices as well. Where I think people have the most engagement, they get the most out of the experience, particularly where it's one that involves a kind of process-driven task, is when they're in a headset, when they're actually fully immersed into the environment, interacting with objects, equipment, as well as talking to the patient. That's when you get like the full benefit of that. But that's not to say that, obviously the consultation, isn't valid or, doesn't work well without being in a headset. So yeah, we deliver in that sort of multi-mode way as well.
And why the kind of focus on medical? Is that the only focus, or was it just a kind of?
It was almost, I think the focus on medical was circumstance essentially. So actually, the company was born out of the University of Manchester and in the Faculty of Health, and so that was its first goal was to look at, could this technology be used to solve some of the issues that the university was having bottlenecks in terms of training. If you've got a group of students having to talk to a patient, you either had to get in a medical actor, or they would talk to a mannequin with their lecturer hid behind a screen and voicing the mannequin. And
really,
whilst,
is that what they did?
Absolutely. Honestly, the first time I saw that was eye-opening for me, and I saw that actually taking place within a simulated kind of hospital environment. But that's what was happening. There was a mannequin laid out, a group of 5 students around the mannequin, someone behind a screen answering questions on behalf of the mannequin. And the students immediately forgot basics like introducing themselves and asking for consent, because why would you ask a dummy for consent to touch it? That was an eye-opener for me. But also, actually, it in order to get through a cohort of students experiencing that takes a lot of time and manpower. And so, that's a training bottleneck, and that was one of the first use cases that we were that the company looked at. How could they help the university to improve their sort of learning delivery?
And you mentioned learning.
You asked, is it just healthcare? Well, that's where we came from. That's our primary use case. It's where we get most of our inquiries coming in from, but that's because we've obviously been marketing out to that particular sector. But we have had plenty of conversations, or plenty of people ask us about different use cases from different industries, mainly where they relate to that communication with between humans.
Yeah. Okay. And you mentioned about the learning bit there as well. Then, so is it? You're focusing on formative, summative, or is it a blend of both? Are they both on the table?
Well, I think they're both on the table, but I think, as with most things, summative assessment comes as follows on from successful formative programs. And I think there's the evidence base that needs to be built up first in terms of the efficacy, equivalence, and so on of assessment in this type of environment. What we do at the moment is very much on a formative basis. However, what we're seeing is that those scores and marks are actually then being compared to when the teacher or the lecturer does a more summative evaluation of students, so that they can then actually determine which method is working better, or is the feedback and the scoring that's coming from a system like ours again equivalent to their more traditional assessment methods. And that's an ongoing piece of work, and I think over the coming years we'll see that data come through. Certainly we can see a future where this type of scenario and environment can be used in a more summative way. But obviously, as with all summative assessment, that's so high stakes for the students and the candidates. You've got to ensure that it's valid and fair.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And the environment that they're in, that's a computer generated 360 kind of space with equipment and patients and people. Yeah. That must be quite expensive to set up.
Well, I would say a couple of years ago it was more expensive than it is now. So technology is moving on apace, obviously, in sort of immersive technology, and obviously, as everybody's talking about in terms of artificial intelligence. And we've seen over the last 2 years, if I gave you an example of the first scenario that we built, took us around 6 months to perfect. And that was, the environment, the interaction, the AI engine behind it, and what have you. And we now can produce from scratch a new environment with a new patient character, with a new condition in whichever setting you want, within a couple of weeks. And there's been a real step change in the ability for us to produce those simulations at scale. And obviously, because we can now produce them at scale, that obviously means that we're producing them at less cost to ourselves, and then obviously less cost to our customers as well.
And what's what's the future trend with this then? Because you mentioned that it was kind of the AI side of things. The VR and AR was big news, wasn't it? Before November 2022.
Absolutely.
It was the metaverse and things like that was everywhere. It's all we ever talked about. And then obviously AI came along, and that's been a very much a text-based AI processing. Where do you see the two converging? What's the kind of optimum kind of convergence between the I suppose the
I guess for us actually we were doing both of those things before November of 2022 or what have you. So we were actually the advent or the explosion, shall we say, of artificial intelligence, where we were absolutely delighted with, because actually then people started to understand a little bit more about what it was that we were talking about. And the way that we see it is that combination of immersive technology with artificial intelligence. And there's two sides to the artificial intelligence. One is the conversational piece, and the second is less glitzy and glamour, and that's the kind of like the processing stuff that goes on in the background. So our AI drives the patients in terms of the conversation that you have with them. So each patient has their own character. Each patient has their own personal, social history, as well as their medical history, which means that you can have that conversation. You can ask one of our patients where they went on holiday, and they'll give you an answer. And they might get a bit stroppy with you if they're there because they're not feeling very well. And you keep asking them about how many pets they've got, or where they last went on holiday, or what their favorite car is. But the point of the technology is that it is a genuine, realistic, authentic interaction with that patient. And that works best when you combine it with the immersive element that VR brings. So as we've already seen, the statistics relating to immersive learning, when you put on a headset and you enter into an environment, very quickly your brain tells you that is real. That's where you are. So if you imagine putting that into a hospital setting with all of the sounds and the beeping and the equipment and everything that goes on, then people feel very quickly that they're in that environment. Then when they come across the patient, they engage with them far faster than they would do if they were looking at a fixed screen with an avatar that didn't move or interact. And so that's where we've seen actually people not just getting it, but actually starting to, that's almost their expectation now. So some of the things that were available a couple of years ago, which were really state of the art, people are now kind of looking at now and say, well, that's not authentic enough. It's the authenticity of the experience, which I think is really key and what people are looking for now. And that's a big driver for us to combine those pieces of technology, the AI and the VR. And I mentioned, obviously, there's the shiny AI, which is the conversation, and then there's the kind of the workhorse AI in the background, which is interpreting what a student has, or a learner or a candidate has done. So that's from a practical aspect.
Is that you mean said, physical, kind of
physically? What they've said and how they've said it, and using the AI to interpret those factors to be able to then feed back. Either, obviously, now we're talking in a formative sense. We provide instant feedback to students on how they've performed. Did they ask the right questions? Did they do tasks in the correct way, in the right order? and how did they engage with the patient on a human level. So yeah, those are the core elements that sit in the back of our system.
And what about, you mentioned about if you start asking questions about their holiday and stuff like that, then they could get quite irritated. Can you flip that? Because not always, when patients go into hospitals and doctors and things like that, they're not always talking sensibly. They're not always actually opening up to the information. Could you flip it so that they, I might say confused, but they are someone who isn't getting to the point about and not really responding? So kind of testing the doctor's ability to really interrogate them. Is that possible?
Yeah, absolutely. When I mentioned earlier that all of our characters or our patients, and we talk about patients because that's mainly healthcare, but just think of it in terms of an individual, a character. We when we devise those, when we build them, we put in character traits as well, so that they won't be forthcoming with information unless you ask the right questions in the right way. So I can give you some examples of that. We have a GP consultation scenario where the user, the learner, plays the role of the GP. It's going to be used in some GP training soon, and the patient that comes in has had a health check and they've got their results back, and they've been asked to come in to talk to the GP about the blood test results. Now, essentially, what the objective is to get that patient to agree to go on to statins because it's related to their blood pressure and so on, and cholesterol levels. What that patient won't reveal is that they have a friend who did go on statins and had an allergic reaction or had a bad reaction to them, and so they don't want to do it, and they won't tell you why. But there are ways that you then have to talk through with that patient about statistically kind of what are the chances. So you have to draw that information out of the character first before you'll actually being able to move to the end goal, or what the objective is of that scenario. So if you don't engage with that patient in the right way, you'll get to the end of the consultation and they'll go, "Thank you very much for your time, well, I'm not doing it." And that is not a successful outcome. So the objective, they've given the objective, which is here are the results, talk to them and get them to go on to statins. And quite a lot of people don't expect that. Actually, that's more challenging than you would think.
I suppose it's things like negotiation, that kind of thing. It's not testable in a multiple choice environment, so that's why you need to be immersive, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and it is those skills elements and performance based kind of elements that we're looking at assessing and feeding back on.
One final question then. So, in terms of the future scope for this, where is it going? What are we going to see more of, or what we can see less of? How do you see this particular kind of industry evolving?
Well, I think we're really at the cusp of this industry expanding quite rapidly. So, we've talked about healthcare, but I've also talked about some of the other industries that have come to talk to us about this. And I think one of the biggest challenges that employers are seeing is people's ability to communicate effectively with other humans, either within the workplace or outside of the workplace, with the public, and so on. And it's been very difficult before now to be able to train and for people to practice those skills in a safe environment, and then be able to apply them outside of that. Either you have to go off-site and go on training days and so on and so forth. That has always been the way that this sort of learning and experience has been done, and that's completely changing now. So people will be able to do it 24/7, 365, access to this. They can practice as many times as they want. They can get into environments that are very difficult to replicate. and they can put themselves in those situations and practice. And obviously, we all learn through practicing, and we master skills through practice. And I think that's where this industry is going. It has the potential to massively unlock people's ability to learn and engage with these types of experiences.
Excellent. Well, I think you provided us with quite an in-depth insight there into this space, which, like I say, it was around a lot. It was big news, but it's maybe subtly kind of gone away a little bit, but it's still been there, and it's still.
I think obviously the big tech giants, they make a lot of noise about things. It hasn't gone away, but certainly the hype focus just changed.
Yes, yeah, it certainly has. It certainly has. Well, thank you, and I'm sure people will put your contact details in the show notes so people can find out more information and come along and see a demo of it, I'm sure. But thank you very much, Jeremy, and best of luck with the project. And I'm sure we'll see you at a conference doing one of your amazing demos again very soon.
Absolutely, Tim. Always a pleasure, and look forward to speaking to you soon.
Take care. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for that, Jeremy. That was excellent. Really fascinating conversation. I think what I find quite interesting about it is that obviously there was, before the kind of big AI push has come along, and I know there's a lot of people out there that kind of go, well, AI has been around since 1950 odd. Yes, it has, but we've seen a real kind of nobody can deny that we've seen a real once in a lifetime kind of generational kind of surge in demand and interest with it. But when you start to layer up this kind of technology with AI, you really start to get these kind of very immersive, kind of collaborative spaces. Now, I just want to kind of draw attention, I should have brought this up very quickly before we go today. I shared a post on LinkedIn, which I'll include in my show notes, which looks at a tool, basically, which starts to kind of explore and expose, really, in a way, some of the difficulties that we're facing with AI at the moment. So this is a tool which I've created in Claude, which is an AI platform. And effectively what it does is it gives you an opportunity to go through and just change some of the settings within the tool to match your current existing assessment profile. So if you're delivering non-proctored with assessments with minimal reasoning, MCQ style questions, no interaction on they deliver them on screen, and there's no recording, then it's going to give you this risk score. So effectively it tells you the risk that exists out there for people to use AI to exploit and malpractice and cheat within your examination. Now, this is off the back of some work that I've done in creating an app which basically uses AI to help and assist someone taking a test. And this is, it's not necessarily a kind of super duper clever thing, but what it was something that was very quickly developed in a space of about 30 minutes. And it uses some very cheap technology, and all it requires is a second PC. And I think this is the thing where people say, don't worry, our apps and our solutions will pick up any use of generative AI within the test delivery. What I did was not using the delivery, the actual examination laptop. All I needed to do was split off the feed from the laptop to the monitor to send that to another computer, which was using an AI product that I created very quickly to feed to me answers and information based on what was on screen. So any kind of secure lockdown browser or all those kind of things, they would not necessarily pick up this. Now, there are multi-camera options, there are other kind of services and things, and there are layers to online proctoring which would help detect this kind of activity. But what it kind of demonstrates is that we're facing this abundant access to a very powerful generative AI services and solutions. And it's gone from that dark web space where people creating solutions or services that would then use to exploit the students and blackmail. These are things that students could quite easily spin up themselves and set up in their profile. Now, I'm not saying everyone's doing this and everything's exposed, but this tool is just designed to kind of walk you through that. And the other resource which is available on here, which is document which talks through the capabilities of AI now and in the near future. So kind of 1 to 5 years in some spaces. So its ability to understand visual activity, process 2D, 3D, understand the physical world. And this is all available on the Beyond Assessment AI quarterly updates. And the plan here is to provide these kind of quarterly updates, looking beyond the assessment and looking at the technologies out there and how it's going to impact things. There is a subscription option on there because this won't be free forever, because I can't do it for free forever. But some of the resources available now, and the winter update that I provided as part of a workshop I ran last week is on there. So you can check that out. So that's enough from me, enough waffle. Thank you very much. I hope you stay safe, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you.